Welcome, everyone. This is a podcast that explores various aspects of addiction, potentially focusing on personal stories of recovery, scientific perspective, societal impacts, or related topics. This podcast often features discussions with experts, individuals in recovery, therapists, and advocates to offer insights and support to those affected by addiction or seeking more information about it. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards, and this show we're going to be discussing a woman's journey coming out of living in the dark with our lovely guest today, Liz. Liz, thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon to be here with us.
Thank you, Al. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You know, you and I met for the very first time down in St. George at the Dixie Convention Center. You and Cap, who's your boyfriend, came down to our very first Healing Utah Success Summit. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you for the very first time. Cap talked highly about you. It's almost like I knew you before I even got to meet you personally. And I'm not saying that because Cap's a good friend. I'm saying it because it's true. He talks so highly of you. So I know the man thinks the world of you. And
I think, sorry, I
oh,
think that's him. I don't think that's a secret.
well, that's good, right? That's a good
Oh,
thing.
he's my person.
And we didn't get to see each other except maybe here and there. You came to the job site once when we was working on a house, and we just said hello, but there was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then we had a Christmas dinner, and you happened to sit right next to me.
Yep.
And we got talking right around the end of the dinner. And when I left there, I'm like, holy shit, that freaking connection was strong.
Yeah.
That's what I felt. And when I mentioned about being on the show, watching your eyeballs grow and watching the glow and just the energy come from you, I knew immediately that you wanted to do this. And even though you was scared about it, right?
Yeah.
Because of what we're going to talk about today,
Yep.
there was only once where I came across and I'm like, you know what? She's not ready yet. But then as you started texting me more and more, I'm going, oh hell, this woman's in full. She's jumping in the boat right now and ready to go. So again, thank you so much for being here.
So true. I am in the boat. It's so funny you say that because I remember saying to Cap last year, I feel like I'm just barely tipping my toe in the water of healing again. Like literally, I'm just barely getting my feet wet, because I was just so timid to show my face around anybody. So scared of what they're thinking and what they're saying. And yeah, I was driven by a lot of fear, and that created so much isolation. But with that isolation also gave me a lot of tools into looking inward and finding that spiritual footing again. And that is still a journey every single day. It's still a beautiful process. It's not as, oh man, it was so scary. Like I didn't deserve to have any guidance or light or, God, spirit, the universe. I felt I didn't deserve any of that stuff. And that's just not true. And I had plenty of people, showing me love, telling me they loved me. And I, I don't know like when that exact turning point was again, but it has been a process, grief, like COVID hit. I lost my very best friend of 15 years and I left the industry and it was like, boom, I was shut off from the world And then all of the choices and consequences that all the choices I had made, all the consequences came tumbling down on me. And I was alone. My family barely talked to me. I was not active in any type of recovery, and I had just lost one of the main people that was everything, you know. And I it has been a wild, like, hard and beautiful last 4 years have been, you know, scary,
Yeah.
difficult, and also incredibly beautiful. Like, I'm just like just learning this new side of who I am. Like, no more masks, no more, like, this is Liz, this is who you see, this is who I am, right here and right here in my heart. This is who you get to see. So, um, well, I'm just gonna, so one of the main reasons that when we spoke that night that I wanted to do this was talk about women in the sex industry, because I myself am, I was in the sex industry. And when I say those words, there's two, well, they can sometimes intertwine with each other, but I was a dancer in my 20s, and I went back in my 40s, in my early 40s. I'm 45 now. And that darkness. So when I went back in my 40s, it was very, very different. Obviously, I was older, a little bit wiser. And I didn't work in my 20s, it was more of a party, and I worked at clubs, and I traveled to Las Vegas, and, you know, just, it was wild in my 20s. In my 40s, it was different where I worked. I don't know if I can name names at places. I probably should leave those out of here, but it was more of a bar with, like, a stage. And uh, I ran into old acquaintances that I had known in my 20s, women that I'd known in my 20s, and
That was still had
still
been in that
working.
whole time.
Yeah, there's a couple of women that I know that are still actively working at, because now a lot of these bars, they're they're not a club setup. They're more of a bar setup with a stage. So it's more intimate. And Utah has a lot of laws so that you can't do, there's like a 3-foot rule. Women, if it's a bar with alcohol, they're covered, right? They have
Yeah.
their privates covered. Anyway, yes, there's women. There's one woman that I've known since I was 24 who's still thriving. I mean, and she's amazing. Like, she works maybe a few days a week, and she has a life. She has grandchildren. She has a whole world um, uh, outside of her profession. And I absolutely adore this woman. So many of these women I adore, you know, because I've gotten to know who they are, not this stripper who's drug addicted, you know, absolutely addicted to alcohol, drugs, many traumas. I mean, which there is the other side of that as well.
Oh, yeah. So you're
Yeah.
you're you're really seeing the true human being that
Yeah.
these ladies are, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's how that's how I would like to be seen. I don't think then I'm not really sure how I wanted to be seen. I'm not sure I really cared. I had a stage name, Luna, and there's still kind of a space of her that resides in me, and I give her a little space because, you know, she carried me through. But I used to kind of joke around when I'd walk into the club that I would say, um, oh, Liz is locked in the trunk and Luna's here, and I'd kind of laugh it off. And I think about that now, and it's like that's actually kind of what I did. I mean, not kind of, but it was like the moment I walked in those doors, I no longer existed.
Yeah.
I was a completely different person. I just detached. And that's, I guess, part of the way I survived in that industry.
To pause you for a minute, Liz, I think the majority of us do that, right? That
Yeah.
we separate ourselves from different things. I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard that story that here I was this person and over here I was that person, right? Especially those who have fallen in deep in the pornography and sex,
Mm-hmm.
right? To
Oh, yeah.
where they're this, and it's even being more so for women. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
actually starting to gain ground on men in
Mm-hmm.
all reality, which is so hard to believe. But a lot of the guys that I've had on my show going, when I went home, I was a loving husband. I kissed my wife, hugged my wife, loved my wife, my kids. I went to games, with the kids, and I did stuff here and I did stuff there. And then when I went out of town for business, I was this whole different person. I was at the strip clubs. I was looking for prostitutes, or as we like to say nowadays, trafficked. That's kind of the word I think that a lot of people are starting to change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I started going down a different hole, and then it started getting so deep that when they came back home, it's almost kind of like those who are out there protecting our country. They get this whole different family out there, right? And they're in survival mode constantly, and then they come home and they don't know how to act at home anymore. And that's when they start seeing their lives really starting to
Yeah.
plummet.
Yeah. I mean, yes, um, I was not the dancer that could ever really keep it together. There were bits
Hmm.
and pieces that I did. Um, and I mean, thank God, but there were many times, especially in my 20s. My 20s I was so naive. Like, I just did not have a clue of what I was stepping into. And there was no, you know, I I was like, yeah, okay, let's go. Yeah, I'll try this. Sure, why not? You know? And and it wasn't I mean, it's like I wasn't I mean, so I can look back and go, I know exactly where my first trauma, where that first trauma for me started, and the traumas in my life where and and why I made a lot of the choices that I did, and things, you know, when I say choices and consequences, there were choices that I made that gave me consequences, and there were things that happened to me that I couldn't control, that I didn't I you know, I didn't ask for those things, right? So when I say that, um, I was raped when I was 15, and I never told a soul until 2000. It was either 2013 or 2014. So I would have been 15. Um, let's see, Austin was born in 97. So I would have been, what, 1993, 94?
Hmm.
Yeah, 94. And I didn't, I grew up in a small town. Everybody knew this person, and he was friends with my boyfriend at the time, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell a single soul. It wasn't until I went into treatment in 2014, and that was not my first treatment, but that I actually like took a look at that and went, oh my God, and it happened after that when I was 22, 23. And it was not just one person that time. Um, and when I left the industry in my 20s, I had no self-esteem, no, there was just nothing left of me. And I met my second husband who was, I walked into a very abusive marriage of 9, 10 years almost. And, I look at that and I think, well, I know why I stayed with him, because I thought that's all I deserved. You know, I thought that, well, this is how he's treating me. And, um, and, and it's wild to think how I allow, like, how was I that person? Well, I know how, because there was nothing of this person. I couldn't, um, I was just barely hanging on by a thread of like who I was, and meeting this person, you know, we we drank together. That's a lot of how I survived that marriage, was drinking, you know, in and out of getting sober. And uh, that is a, yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah, a vehicle was going by, so I hurried and hit mute, and I thought I unclicked it. Thank you, Liz. It was really loud. So really all this time, just like at the beginning of the show, what we said the title was, coming out of living in the dark, because that's what you were doing, right? Was just
Mm,
living in that dark. And I can't imagine, with what's happened to you, to not throw the dirt on yourself, right? And having that shame and that guilt, and
hmm.
to hold what you held in as long as you did.
Yeah.
My gosh, that had to continue to grow and grow inside you, to where I just can't imagine the damage that it causes without us even realizing the damage is happening.
Yes, exactly. I think that I buried that rape so deep that it was like it didn't even happen, you
Yeah.
know? Um, because I had to take a really hard look at that when that came up when I was in treatment, and look at that of, I said no, but I put myself in that situation, but I said no. And so, you know, no is no. There's no question about that. No is no. Just doesn't matter. Period. Right? If it
Yeah.
happens to male or female, no is no. Period. If I say no, there's no hidden anything in there. I mean no.
Yeah.
I can do that now, but yeah, and
You
I
know,
was, yeah.
oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I,
Well,
I
I
don't
was just
want
going
you
to
to
say,
lose
I
your
was
thing.
so ashamed to, one of like one of the people I really wanted to share my stuff with was my mom. My mom is one of my heroes, one of my biggest cheerleaders, supporters, mentors. And we've had a rough go at things because she's had to watch her daughter from afar, you know, in making life choices, things happening to her, and then doing them all over again 20 years later. I mean, my mom is thinking that okay, she's finally sober again, and she's working, and she's being a good mom, and and I also think too that if I had a stable man by my side, the whole picture always looked better, right? And I believed that too. I always felt that if I had a significant other by my side, then I could do things. And it wasn't until I met Cap that I learned that I didn't need him. I wanted him in my
Exactly.
life,
Yeah.
you
It
know?
is a big difference,
And
right?
there's a big difference. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's bizarre. Like when you meet somebody who is like you're almost looking in the mirror and you're going, well, wait a second. I don't like that about you because I do that. Right.
Yeah,
And we talk
exactly.
about these things now. It's taken us a long time, but oh my God, what he has taught me and the patience he has given me. I mean, I I don't think that I would have learned to give myself the love and patience and compassion if I hadn't had him and my mom telling me that I could do it, that we're here for you, that I wasn't enabled. You know, it
Yeah.
was like, we're going to step back and have some boundaries, but we love you. And I mean, that right there.
You know, Liz, with you saying it's kind of crazy because again, that's what I love about doing these shows. It seems like a lot of times a message in the second show is something that also came from the first show.
Uh-huh.
Right? We were talking about meeting somebody. He said that somebody that he knows who's been looking for a good man for a long time and kept finding the same type of guys, which what she's trying to get away from. And my friend worked with her, right, about changing her mind, right? We were talking about cultivating a thriving attitude and changing her attitude. And she's worked with this guy for a long time. And all of a sudden, with her attitude changing the way she looked, they meshed, right? And that's when you know you've got the right mesh because
Mm.
you're both frequency, not one above the other, but your frequencies are so close and you start bringing these frequencies together. And what's so cool is because I know the frequency Cap has. I've worked
Yeah.
with him long enough and I've known him long enough to know. And seeing the difference even from you now from the first time that I met you a couple years ago, that frequency is being matched, right? So you guys are continuously growing together. What happens a lot of times is I'm just going to come out and say it, right? It's what happened with me and my ex-wife, right? Yeah, she relapsed after 2.5 years, and I said, I'm not doing this again. I got to start thinking of Val. I got to start protecting me because
Yep.
I went through a lot of years of freaking hell with that
Hmm.
woman because of the love that I had for her. I was going to stay by her side and support her. However, it took me down that rabbit hole too. I'm not willing to go down that rabbit hole ever again.
Yeah.
And it's she has told me a few times before that she goes, you always made me feel like you were better than me and above me. And I'm like, how did I ever do that? And I've put a lot of thought into this.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
And I realized I was growing.
Yep.
I was growing. I did not want to stay where I was at. And I still don't even want to. I love where I'm at right now, but I don't want to
Yeah.
stay. I want to continue to move, right?
Yeah.
And her decision was to stay here.
Yep.
Her decision,
Yep.
right? And it didn't matter how much I reached out and
Yeah.
said, grab my hands, come with me. If she wants to pull that resistance back, there's nothing I can do.
Yep.
Somebody, what you just shared, Liz, you heard what they had. You saw that they wanted to be there for you and how much love that they had for you. And you happen to be willing to reach out and grab their hands and go, okay, you know,
Yep.
you still have to do the work, right?
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
know that they're there by your side. And now
Yep.
all of a sudden you're up here now with Cap. right? Or close to it, right? And you guys are
Yeah.
working together. And I don't know really where everything is with you guys. However,
No,
it's just what
you're
I'm feeling, right?
no, absolutely, absolutely. I actually got to watch him take a step back from me and do some work of his own. This was the end of last year, maybe the middle of the year. And when he started doing the breath workshops with his sister, and I watched a whole new human being, and I went, oh my God, I love you even more.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, literally, I was like, you know, I, it's, I'm just, I am amazed and feel so lucky that A, that I love myself as much as other people love me, because I never thought that I would feel that love for myself again. And I feel so grateful and blessed and like, are you sure I deserve this? Sometimes I'm still kind of go, okay, wait, are you sure? You know, like I do
Pinch.
this. Yeah, exactly. Are you sure? I say that to him. I'm like, hun, you're stuck with me. And he's like, yep, I know you're stuck with me too. You know, and I have I don't have like a mountain of friendships like I always had. I have this little kind of mound of women that are so important to me in my healing and growth. And what I've come to discover is, you know, the majority of them are women that I've known for 15 plus years, and I don't get to see them a lot. I don't get to talk to them every day, right? But there there is this just continuous energy between us that no matter what, and they have and me being able to like be authentic with myself, they know they get to be authentic with me. They can say whatever the hell is going on, and that's I think the biggest piece for me is that I need people to know what I've walked out of, that I'm not ashamed that I was a stripper, that I'm not ashamed that I've had relapses in my life. I'm not ashamed of those things anymore. Those things, I need people to see that. I need women to hear that it's okay. I need the women in the industry, if they're still there, like I don't want them to feel like, well, she's better than, because I'm not. I will. If anything, I would want them to feel that somebody I feel like I could talk to, that I could relate to. You know, when my one of my very best friends, Misty, I have to talk about this because she has been a huge champion in my life. Um, she started a nonprofit called Jules, and it was based to, you know, we would go into the different clubs in Utah or in the Salt Lake area and North Salt Lake, and we would just go in and give them gifts every month. And we weren't there to um, to say, oh, you know, this is bad, you got to leave. That's not the agenda. It's not the agenda for me ever. If there's a woman that reaches out, says, I don't want to quit dancing, or I don't want to quit, you know, doing sex work, but I need somebody to talk to, I'm here.
Right.
You know, my role as a human being isn't to say you need to leave because of A, B, C, and D. Because plenty of people told me that, and it didn't force me to leave, you know. Um, and but this there's there's not a right now there's not a like specific nonprofit. Jules went for, oh, Misty, please don't be mad if I say the wrong years. 17 years, almost 17 years, I believe.
Hmm.
Maybe back of, ugh. I was with her for a few years, but anyway, just recently disbanded. And that woman worked her guts out to get to become a nonprofit, to get donations, and they were, things that the women at the clubs would need to use, like glue for their pasties, lip gloss, a Sharpie to color on their shoes. I mean, um, we just wanted to know that there was people out there that loved them regardless,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I I she she has walked through many years of a lot of, traumas with me, and seeing me be sober out of the industry for many, many years, to walking back into a club, in 2019, and seeing me in the back again. I mean, it was, of course I didn't like, hey, by the way, I'm dancing again, I
Yeah.
the sheer look of like, oh my God, Liz, it wasn't disappointment. It was, I think, fear, because she knows the path. Like, again, I was never one of those dancers that could keep my shit together all the time. It just, that's just the truth. Like, I liked to drink. I could never get on stage and not I had to have a couple of shots before I got on stage, because ugh, it scared the shit out of me. But
Yeah.
the moment I got the alcohol in me and I got, a little loose, I could get up there and I was okay. Um,
After, not even, let's say after, even while you're in that, because you mentioned something earlier about not feeling good about yourself and also being judged, right? And I believe, I'm hoping I'm right on this. It's that stigma on that as well, right? Because there's a stigma about alcoholism and drug addicts and porn addicts and all this, right? The
oh yeah.
stigma is out there when people don't even realize what has happened in individuals' lives,
Yep.
right? And those whispers,
Yep.
because I've
Oh yeah.
I've had I've had things, especially recently, where everything I said was analyzed,
Mm,
right? Not seeing the individual in front of them.
yeah. Yeah.
And I can imagine that's how people like yourself and these other girls are seeing. They're, whoever they're in front of, whether they're on stage or they're working, they're not being looked at as individuals, right? And I would think that it would be going on in their head going, the only reason why this person is with me is because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the more it starts happening, and correct me if I'm wrong, the more it starts happening, the more depleted you continue
Oh yeah.
to feel, because then all of a
Oh yeah.
sudden, like you said, one day you wake up and you're like, who the hell is Liz? I don't even
Oh
know
yeah.
who she is anymore.
Well, yeah, I would 100%. If I had, if my nails were done, my hair was done, my makeup was on, I had all the things going on, then I could look in the mirror, and like, I was then I was okay with myself, like, and I think the Oh, and I'm just sitting here thinking about, like, when I would walk into the bar to go to work, and I would, because they had our schedules online, so your clients could come and see you. And at this specific place, it was only a 2-hour shift. You were on stage for 15, off for 15. So really it was like an hour, and it
Mhm.
was a stupid amount of money, and that's what hooked me, was the amount of money that I made in that hour. But basically, a lot of times not doing much but sitting on the stage and talking to these customers, right? And that was a lot of what happened for me in my 40s when I went back. It was just really easy money, but I made incredibly terrible choices that affected everybody around me. And that's where not only like, I used to really pride myself on, I'm not ashamed of being a stripper. I really, really did. And then I kind of went of like, oh my God, when I started to kind of go back out into like meetings and seeing people that I've known, but they haven't, I know that they knew, but I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
And I'm the eye, the, the interactions were so different. They were, and I understand, I really do. Because a, like, it's either the men really wanted to know me when I came back around, or the men steered clear of me because they didn't want to give me the wrong impression because I was still figuring out who the hell I was. um and it was the same with the women. Like, there were some women, when I talk about this, I'm you know kind of speaking in whole in a lot of the meetings that I used to go to, because that's where I went back. Like, that's where I first initially thought, well, I gotta go. Like, I was kind of I don't want not I programmed myself into that's where I needed to go, like, first thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't become, it's still there, but that's not really what has helped me heal. What's helped me heal is like allowing myself that time away from people and stripping off all the bullshit, the makeup, the nails, the jewelry, and just like being able to look at myself in the mirror and go, God, I love you. You are okay, you know? And I started those people that I so desperately wanted and needed the acceptance from, like my mom. When I learned how to have compassion for her, because my mom has lived her own life, nothing like mine. My mother is like, just, how do I explain Jody? She's like this little short Jewish woman who is, the matriarch of the family. Like, she's very humble, intelligent, driven. And when I had compassion for the things that she has walked through in her own life, that was a turning point for me. And then I remember saying that to her. I have a picture of her and I. This was 2 summers ago. We were at Murray Park and we were walking, holding hands, and we laid down under this weeping willow tree. And I remember looking at my mom. And I remember saying to her, Mom, I am so sorry that I've never like looked at the hardships you've walked through in your life, that I never understood how to really have compassion for you as a human being. And this is 2 years ago. I'm 43 years old, and I'm just now seeing that I was so selfish. I couldn't have compassion for my own mother. And that was such a turning point for us into growing. I told her about doing the podcast, and I said, Mom, I just, want to have your blessing about this, because I need to do this, not just for me, but if there's any women that hear that, if they're struggling with any type of sex work, alcoholism, drug addiction, trauma, like, I'm not a professional, I'm a friend, and I want to be here. I'm here. And she said, Lizzie, I know you've been wanting to do something for years, honey. It's okay. And I thought, whoa, okay, well, we really just took a hit. We've grown so much, you know. For my mom to be like, yes, honey, do it. That's like, not that I had to have her okay, but it was nice to like hear her, you know, say, yeah, do
Yeah.
it, sweetie.
You
I
know,
support you.
I think it really takes, without us even knowing it, Liz, I think it takes another little weight off our shoulder, right? It's just kind of like we just did that. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden our shoulder comes up a little bit more. We hold ourselves up a little higher, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, and I want to share this really quick because I don't want to take up your time.
Oh no. Tell me.
In January, well, when we did our talk in St. George,
Yeah.
okay, my friend Dave DeRocher, who got up and spoke, he was the first speaker. After this event, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, when we get back to Salt Lake, I'd like to schedule a meeting with you." And I've said this on the show. I've shared it on the show quite a few times. And I says, "I want to sit down and talk to you about becoming a better speaker, right? I want to be able to get up on stage and because I was watching the audience. He had them in the palm of his hand, and that's what I want to do, right?"
Yeah.
And that was August. And January of last year, we finally had a chance to meet, right? Because he
Oh,
was so busy. And Robin, I don't know if you met Robin, she was there, or no, she wasn't there, but she's his assistant.
okay.
And she calls me, she goes, "Hey, Dave has time to meet with you." I'm like, "All right, can you do it on a Thursday?" Well, I did my shows back then and on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And I said, "You know what? If we can do it before 10:30, yes." So she's like, "Well, can you be here at 8?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be there at 8. I'll miss the gym, which I do not like doing. I'll miss the gym because this is important to me, right?"
Yeah.
I go up there and I sit down with Dave, and he asked permission to speak openly. And I said, "Yes." And he grabs my knee and pulls himself up on the chair that had rollers on it. He got right in my face. And he goes, "Al, you want to be a powerful speaker?" I said, "Yeah." And I'm just going to say it the way he said it. Pointed his finger and he goes, "You start telling your fucking story instead of your wife's fucking story."
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, my ego's kicking in, right? I'm building the wall. Screw you. You're not talking to me this way, right? And I'm leaning back and he's doing this to me.
Uh-huh.
I realized I gave that man permission to speak openly. So I dropped my ego and I sit and listen to what he had to say. And I joke about it sometimes because I'm like, well, then Robin had to put her 2 cents in too, right? So she's telling me this stuff. That was
Yeah.
the best freaking advice, Liz, I ever got
Yeah.
during this journey, right?
Yes. Yeah.
God works in mysterious ways because
Yeah.
that day, Robin was my guest co host on the show.
Okay.
We went to the studio. My guest didn't show.
So
Called,
she was,
emailed. So, yeah. Robin goes, "What do you want to do?" I says, "Robin, you're the host today. I'm the guest." She's like, "No, no, 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 no." I says, "You're going to interview me." I told my story last January of my 8-year weekend every Friday and Saturday night cocaine and alcohol use for the very, very first time on my show with her interviewing me. And I remember Janan walked into the studio about in the middle of the show, and through my peripheral vision, she literally stopped dead in her tracks and was like, "Oh my hell." Right? So going back to what I was saying with what happened with you and your mom,
mm,
that little chip came off your shoulder.
yeah.
Wait, Robin said at the end of the show, she goes, "Al, I don't think you noticed it." But she goes, "I sat there and watched you just start floating.
Mm,
I watched the weight just, whew, I watched
yeah.
the weight melt off your shoulders," not realizing hanging on to this and not opening up about it was doing more harm to me than any good, right?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
so busy yapping about playing the victim of what my wife put me through
Yeah.
instead of going, "This is what I've done."
Yes.
And now that I've released that, no
Yep.
one, no one can hold that carrot over my head ever
Yeah.
again because it's
Yeah.
out, right? And how
Well, I
you're
can.
looking at it, how you said with you, right?
Yep.
How your life is just, it's changing and it's going because we're releasing those toxins out of our freaking body and we're going, you know what? Life isn't about this. This is what life's all about. And yes, I
Yep.
made bad choices, but you know what? All of us make bad choices. That's part of our journey and it's part of our lesson.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Just like listening to you just talk about that. I watching your body, the way your body shifted when, not just your shoulders up, but the way your body shifted about how you got that out. It was like, whew, you know, like
Yeah.
I've been, and it's not, I mean, I think the again, like the most crucial point or the most crucial thing for me is just that, um, you know, I'm so much more than what my choices were. I'm so much more, but I also, with that being said, I can say that all day long, but if my actions are showing something different, then that's just all bullshit, you
Yes.
know? And so, and that was another thing that I had that leaving the industry, it was like learning to walk with baby legs all over again. And I wasn't there for like years and years like some of my friends are, you know? But I I've seen I have a friend right now. I've seen the toll and the damage that it's taken on her life as a woman and a, you know, just uh I mean, being a dancer for 20 years, it's going to take a toll on your body and not just like psychologically, but physically. I like I've said before, I would never say to women, you have to leave. Now, if they're in danger, that's a different story, right? But I don't have experience I wasn't trafficked. And so I don't have experience in that. These are two separate,
Yes.
you know, separate things. But I just, I don't want women to ever feel like there isn't something out there attainable, reachable for them to go, I need your help. I need help. I need, and I hope, Al, one day I know that I myself or somebody that I know will have a nonprofit to help these women. I have no idea what that's going to look like, or, I don't want it based on any, like, a lot of these women in Utah, there's religious traumas, and I don't want any of that in surrounded in it, because it's it just it doesn't work, right? All of those, there's just a lot of religious trauma with a lot of these girls that are in the industry, and many other traumas.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that one day, whether it's a practice that I can resource, like have places that they can go to, or I have my own place, with other women, because I have a friend right now that, I spoke to her a couple of days ago, and she's somebody that I worked with, when I went back in my 40s, and we've stayed friends. She's been out for years now, and she has the same ideal, but she has kind of a different direction, that she wants to, same ideal, but different areas, right? And I just, it's just so important that these, whether we have an actual building or not, there are women. We are here. There are women here that want to support you no matter where you are, no matter what, you know. Like, not a, it's, I'm not anybody's financial or can't provide a home or, jobs or any of that stuff. It is that connection that they need, that I may hopefully be able to put them in the right direction to help their healing journey, you
Yeah.
know? Because a lot of these times, like the women, their families disown them. They will not,
Especially those that come from the religion, right?
yep,
Yeah.
100%.
And which I have a hard time with that, Liz. I really
You know,
do. Because I know what it's like in my religion, right? I'm more spiritual. I'm not active. I'm more spiritual. The judging, the judgment that happens. Yet on Sundays they talk about non-judgmental, right? The only person who needs to be judging us is that man upstairs.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
no one else. So don't preach, don't judge people and turn on, especially when it's your own daughter, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's hard. I can imagine how hard it is, but
Oh, yeah.
to disown them, gosh, that's tough.
Well, that's what one of my girlfriends is walking through the last year and a half. She decided that, and I don't want to share too much of her story because this is hers to share, but because she does want to do that. Um, she spoke up about something that had happened with a family member in her past, and they said either shut up or be disowned, and she chose herself. She chose herself after all of these years, and they've disowned her. It's been a year
Oh
and a
my
half.
gosh.
Yeah, completely like, and I just thought, wow, well, you know, I'm no replacement for somebody's family, but I've got your back, girl. And we talk a lot. We text, we keep our lines, and I mean, thank God, like I have these women that I worked with that I still have these connections with. I mean, really, because they get it. They get what it's like coming out of that space, out of the dark. I mean,
Right?
literally, I was shackled. I think about walking, even when I'd work during the day and I would walk out of the club, I'd walk out of the bar, and I was still somehow always shackled to that place, you know? And I had to put a lot of space and time to, I think, actually truly be heard, you know? Like, and whatever that looks like for people, you know, I, um, I do hope something good comes of this. If anything, I mean, I got to share my story
I
with you and whoever chooses to watch this. And yeah, one of these days, I'll get a phone call, you know.
let me I'm gonna throw some feel goods out there for you.
Okay.
Anyway, I hope.
Okay.
They say the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yep.
You're out there, Liz, making the connections, right? By doing that, the journey that life has taken you on, the experiences, what you've learned, the heart and the love that you have
Mm.
for these individuals, right,
Yeah.
is going to take you. Whew, see, I get emotional thinking about it. I told you I would cry with you.
No.
You know, it's going to take you down so many different paths, but good paths. And I am a firm believer in the why, because it's happened to me. God will start placing the right people in front of you, the right people that will help you get to your journey, just as you are doing to help people if they need help, right?
Yeah.
Because this show's been going for almost 3 years. Next month, it'll be 3 years.
Wow.
I get telephone calls or messages or messages on Facebook or text of someone reaching out to me going, I need help. Do you
Right.
have resources? Who do you know? This is what's happening in my life. I would have never ever thought, ever. And even though my old producer said this would happen, I called BS on it when he told me. And it's happening. And the people here, especially in the last 4, 5, 6 months, it's like, holy crap. It's really happening. It's
Yeah.
happening, right? It's we were planning our fourth Healing Utah Success Summit. I would have never thought in a million years. I thought it in my head. I visioned it in my head. So did Mallory.
Yeah.
To make it to come real and to
Yeah.
have people there to back us and support us. And what I'm doing now, what I started this week with some training, it's the it's exactly it's the whew, it's the exactly type of training I was wanting, right? I've been offered different types things and it just didn't feel right in my stomach. It just, yeah, okay, I don't want to do it. Yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah.
When this was brought to me,
Yeah.
there was no doubt. It was like I got hit upside the head going, you better fricking jump on this. And somebody offered their heart and their kindness to help me get through this part to where I could do this because they believe in me and they've never met me in person ever to
What
go,
can
this is the journey you need to be on.
it, so okay, can you say when you say training, what do you mean?
I will tell you off air.
Okay. Okay.
So there's not a lot of people
Oh,
that
I
really know about it.
okay.
So yeah,
Yes. Okay.
I will let everyone know in 8 weeks, the
Okay.
middle of
Okay.
April.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I see that happening with you. You have that drive, you have that want, you have that heart. And as long as you're going on that journey and you're willing to continue to go that direction,
Mm-hmm.
doors are going to start opening. And you're talking about coming out of living in the dark. You've already opened up one door and flipped on the switch. Girl, you are going to you're going to walk through so many freaking doors where the light's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter each time that you do it because you went through your journey. Now it's time for you to start helping other people in their journey.
You know, not 1 ounce of me wanted to say, gosh, I hope so. But everything wanted what I believe you. I know that. Not I know that. I believe you. I absolutely agree with you. I don't know if I would have said that even 4 weeks ago because I was still kind of like, "Ugh," not on the fence about doing this, but I felt like I needed to make, um, we all have our spiritual connections and being out in nature, Mother Earth, she is like my go-to,
Oh
my
yeah.
everything. But the I taught I spoke to 4 women that share a similar story to mine in the last 6 weeks, and excuse me, 5 women, and I was like, in my heart, I knew I could do the show even if I hadn't talked to them, but I made sure to either see them and or speak with them about, my own journey and their journey, and just go, this is what you're doing, Liz. This is what you've always wanted to do. So here you go. Here
Yeah.
you go.
Yep. The journey has begun.
I'm here for it.
What movie was it they said was one of the Lord of the Rings or something? That's when they asked one of the hobbits, where are you going? He's like, I'm going on an adventure.
If you had asked me that a couple of months ago, I probably would have known because I just rewatched those movies. I'm a I I will go out maybe a couple of times during the week at night, but not usually, like,
Mhm.
for meetings occasionally. but I really like to be inside. Like in the evening, I'm domesticated, I guess you could say now,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah. You know, I ended up having coffee with one of your good friends the other day with Jessica.
My sweet sunshine, Jess.
Oh my gosh, and she
Ah,
was on my show not too long ago, and it's crazy because we're sitting down and having coffee with her business partner, Julie.
uh-huh.
And I don't know, I can't remember what was being discussed, and I mentioned Cap, and she goes, Cap Summerhays? And I said, "Oh my gosh, you know Cap?" She goes, "Yes. It's my girl, almost like my best friend. It's his girlfriend." I'm like, "You know Liz?" And it's like, "Oh my hell, she's gonna be on the show tomorrow, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
it was so
Jess.
cool.
She's in my phone under Sunshine Jessica because she literally is every like even through the stuff that she's, even through her own um journey,
Yeah.
she has this smile and this aura about her that is sunshine to me. Like she just radiates warmth and and her knowledge about the body and and food and your brain. I mean, she we originally met in yoga teacher training, and in 2016, 2017 maybe.
Mhm.
Ah, I love that woman. She is such a phenomenal human being. Like, she's the same as Misty, the same as Courtney and Heather, both Heathers. I kind of get speechless with these women that I have in my life because there's just not one, you know, like the all of these women have carried me in one way or another, whether it was, showing me boundaries, working on themselves and showing me things could be done that just I really am such a grateful and blessed human being. Like I didn't wouldn't probably I would not have said those words 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't have. I didn't feel that way. Um, I, you know, I just I wouldn't have even given myself that breathing room to go, okay, you know what, Lizzie? If I saw somebody like I was 2 years ago, I'd just want to wrap my arms around them and say, just sit down and sit still for a minute and give yourself a breath. You're okay. You're safe. You're going to be okay. It's going to be hard, but you're safe. Yeah.
Yeah, you're amongst one of many of God's angels now walking this earth, helping
Oh,
others.
I
Yeah,
hope so.
yeah.
I really do.
Question, gosh, we've been going over an hour. It's hard to believe. It goes by so quick,
I know.
especially when you're having an amazing conversation with amazing people, right?
Yep.
It just goes so smooth.
Yep.
What you can either answer both or just answer one, whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
And even though this is a little bit different, sometimes I ask, what does the other side of addiction mean to you? Or what would be your main message to the ladies out there that you want
Mm.
to be there for?
Um, ooh. Well, first I would just want them to know that you are loved. You are loved exactly how you are. You are accepted. You are appreciated. You are safe. I want you to know that I am here and you are safe I think that's one of the main things that I didn't feel for a long time was safety, you know, and I didn't know how to create that safety for myself either.
Yeah.
Um, but the just there are so many different avenues in life that we have at our fingertips to obtain healing, and there are so many resources out there that I know of that help women, that not specifically that help women with traumas. Well, that's where I'm going with this. One in particular, the House of Heart, that it was a lodge that I did with a woman who helps other women in recovery, you know, but I just want them to know that, like, I'm here and I'm not the only one, you know. Um, I I mean, if someone felt compelled to message me on Facebook, they can do that, or Instagram. It's under Liz Levi. I've currently taken, so Levi is my mother's maiden name. Alan was my high school sweetheart. That was it's my legal last name, so I haven't changed it yet, but
Okay.
it's
So
under,
can you spell that out for me, Liz? Because I will put her on the caption in case
yeah,
someone. Yes.
it's Levi.
Levi,
Yep.
and Liz, Liz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
And that's the Facebook.
yep, that's my Facebook, that's my Instagram. Um, uh, I mean, if there, is anyone, if they know somebody that is struggling with this and we don't even know what to do, but she's willing to talk to somebody, can we give her your phone number? Yes. You know, I want I want these women to know that there are women out here that want to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure I have that down because again, you never know who's going to hear this message, right? And
Yeah.
all it takes is one person. If
Yep.
you can help one person, that ripple effect will be so huge.
Well, literally, yeah, it happened to me last week. I had a friend reach out to me and say, I'm going to give you this person's number because they also were in the industry and they're also in the rooms. And here's because I thought I need, more connections in that area of my life because I've been so scared. I mean,
Yeah.
really, I've been like terrified about that. And I, I mean, not terrified anymore, but I was. And just learning that there's another woman who has no shame about sharing, you know, um, that part of herself openly, in that kind of a space, that is like huge for me, you know, and um, we need to have those safe spaces that we can do that, you know. Um, that's something that's kind of being talked about right now by a few of us. Nothing, we just want to meet for coffee and talk. You know,
Yeah.
there's no agenda, just connection. Just know that we're here, just that connection. And just like you said, things take off from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connection is huge, right? Definitely. It's definitely huge.
Yes. And I get that isolation. Like I get that being really like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure if I'm quite ready. That's okay, you know, but just know that I'm here when you are. That's okay.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Liz, thank you so much for being on this
Thank
show. I
you.
mean, this was a great show. Thank you for being so open and honest and your willingness to go out there and want to help other women. Thank you so much for doing that because it really does take people like yourself out there who really have that love and that heart and who have walked in those shoes
Yeah.
to go, man, anything's possible.
Yes.
And I'm here, I'm your friend, non-judgmental. I'm here for you however you need me to be, because
Yeah.
just that alone can save.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on here, Al. I am so, so grateful I got to do this. This has meant the absolute world to me. Thank you for allowing me to just say it how it is, how it was for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
You are so welcome. So and I'm so blessed that I've had this opportunity to get to even know you better, right? And
Same.
I mean, I'm blessed to have known Cap, to know Cap, and how he came into my life is kind of all crazy as well, and
Yeah.
meeting other people, that
Yeah.
I probably would have never ever met. So, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, guys, my gosh, another great show. Thank you to all our listeners. Again, I say this every week. This wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for you guys. You guys are the ones that's making this a success. Man, March, third year. This show's been going on third year. This is freaking nuts. I would have never thought that this would be going, and I'm glad it is. I'm glad it is. And we've got plenty of more years that's going to be coming. Guys, you can find us on all the social media platforms. Check us out, like and subscribe. And if you know someone that is struggling right now and needs some help with the conversation that Liz and I had today, her information is going to be here. Please reach out to her, because she would be the gal that can help you. So we're going to leave you with this, as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.